That's right. Eyes on Politics begins now. In studio, I'm joined by, next to me, that is Miruru Waweru. He is Third Way Alliance Party Chairman. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. And towards the middle there, I'm joined by Godfrey Kanoti, Executive Director of Global Aid. Karibu sana. And towards my extreme left, I'm joined by Joshua Nyamori, political analyst, and he is a lawyer and an economist. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me this morning. Be part of this conversation. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, at KBC Television, at Jane Wambui, at Ram Aguko. The hashtag Good Morning Kenya. Eyes on Politics. We shall be focusing on issues that have been trending across the week and across the weekend. We shall be touching on them bit by bit, including the budget 2019-2020, what it's all about, the implications that are therein, what happened on budget day. Remember, there is a member of parliament who was allegedly assaulted. We shall touch on that slightly. We shall also touch on a bill. Remember, a bill has been proposed to amend an act in Parliament. I'll be telling you that in a bit. But for now, Father's Day was yesterday. Yeah. I don't know if it would be proper. Some men find it difficult to wish their fellow men happy Father's Day. What if you can start with you? What are your thoughts concerning fathers? Fathers were remembered yesterday internationally on a global perspective, and people gave their comments. You know, we even had a news piece concerning that, a report by one of our own. What are your thoughts concerning this Father's Day?
I think Father's Day is just the climax of where we always celebrate Father's Day. As guys, we contribute as fathers to our children always, and I think that's it. There's not much to say about it because it's the contribution of maybe fathers to the society.
Yeah, fathers don't normally talk here.
Yeah. It's not really much. You know, it's actually a Caucasian tradition, and because if you have to be a good father, you do it every day. Yeah.
Happy Father's Day. Your thoughts?
Special day. It celebrates icons, people who have put in their effort to raise responsible families. When you see your children grow to age and you see them responsible, the success of any father is when you see a family that is bound together in love and working together.
Yeah. All right. And Joshua?
Yeah, you know, men, especially fathers, are rarely celebrated for the work they do. And to be able to put food on the table and provide housing, provide education and healthcare, a number of fathers go through quite a lot and risk so much to be able to provide for their family. They really speak about it. So this day is just an important day for everybody to appreciate what fathers are doing. And I think it was a great day. Yeah, I felt proud to be a father.
You're a father?
Yeah.
I believe all of us are, except me. But I take this time, well, I'm a future father, I take this time to even wish my own father happy Father's Day. I know I never said anything yesterday, but now I'm saying it today. Yeah, we find it difficult to do that. Happy Father's Day. You, some people call me his brother in our culture, and for the Luo culture, now there is a term we call it Mbasna. He is my age mate, in quotes. Yeah, happy Father's Day to the one and the only Norman Aguko. That is my father, who brought up a man who is, inspiring the society and doing a lot, even when it comes to building the nation and building the church. Speaking of which, now putting matters into perspective, first things first, the church. There is a proposal here that was forwarded by ODM chairman, that is John Buddy, and minority leader. He said that he has written to the National Assembly, that is Justin Muturi, proposing to amend the Public Officer Ethics Act that will cap Harambee contributions to 100,000 shillings. Now, here we are having a limitation here. This means that there is a limited amount of money that people should contribute in churches, and he said that the motion will be able, to prevent certain eventualities, because here we are having regulation. What are your thoughts concerning this? And I'd like to start with you.
I'll start with our party position on Harambes. If you look at during the Kibaki period, the president had, he never used to go around giving money, and he actually almost banned Harambes. And what I think our party position is, we should do away with Harambes completely in this country.
Not even limit them? We do
Not even limit them, because what are they trying to cure? If they say the Harambes, we are curing them, because it looks like it's just a political game for ODM, that we limit it to 100,000 because maybe there's a guy who's giving 1 million shillings. Let us stop giving Harambe money. Let's use, if the church, people tithe. Let people, if you are tithing to the church 1 million shillings, put it in the basket like anybody else. Let's not have Harambes. We can do without Harambes and move on and make a better country.
All right.
Even if you look at history, one of the best performing presidents in this country never used to go around giving money, Moi Kibaki. What is coming back is the old Kanu traits of going around dishing money out everywhere. But even limiting it to 100,000, a person can give 100,000 100 times one day.
Wow. So we do away with the contributions.
You can give 100,000 to 100 churches one day.
You're saying we do away with the contributions to churches?
No. That's not what I'm saying. Harambes.
Harambes.
Churches correct tithes. You can contribute that money through tithes to build the churches. You don't need to tell anyone how much you have contributed. It is only that the platform is used for political gain. That is why people go to fresh out money there. We should do away with Harambes. Let those people with kind hearts to give money to churches go and give it silently without announcing that they are giving this money to the churches.
Isn't that an Harambe in its own? I'll come
listen, no, it's not necessary. You know what Harambe is. You know what happens in Harambes. People are giving money in public.
Yes.
So if you want to give that money, give it silently to the church.
Silently. Your thoughts on this, Godfrey?
Giving by any name is giving. Whether you call it love offering, you call it harambe, some call it sadaka. Giving, tithe. Giving is giving. And I want to say that the ODM bill will fail. And also
dead on arrival.
And also, even the community should not allow such a bill to go through, because giving is a matter of the heart. There are those who give 1 shilling, there are those who give 1 million. And as you grow up, we've seen people giving land. How much do you quantify land? Our early fathers gave land for the church to be built. People give money in the church. And so you cannot limit what is to be given in God's house. I know of a church where Mheshimiwa Mudavadi has spent quite a lot of money in Kwale. He has built that Catholic church from the beginning to the end. And I know millions of shillings have been spent there. I know of a church in Bumula constituency, which he has actually built from, again, the scratch to where it is today. It's already roofed and people are using it. So if we quantify how much somebody is giving to the community, we will be limiting people to even have faith in God. Because there's a verse in the Bible where you find Jesus telling a rich man, go back and sell everything that you have. Sell everything. We know of a man called Elisha. He sold all his oxen and he followed Elijah. And we also see people in the Bible coming to give before Jesus. You know of the taxman, Zacchaeus. After he met Jesus, he gave 4 times what he had taken from the people. So giving, in essence, is actually returning back to the giver, and that is God himself.
And he says, do you support what he has said here?
But no, he's trying to run away from the word harambe. Harambe is simply meaning, let's come together to a common pool and do a project.
Ram, you know, Harambe is a great philosophy that emerged out of our cultures, the African culture of coming together and supporting each other. And Harambes have been used in this country from the pre-independence period to build great community initiatives, build schools, build churches, build mosques, build, hospitals and community health centers, and so on and so forth. Harambes emerged because of a gap that exists between the needs of the people, the needs of the society, and what the colonial government and then the post-independent governments have been able to provide. And therefore, it is unfortunate that somebody can even perceive an intention to destroy the Harambee spirit.
But you know,
the issue is Kenya is suffering from corruption. The government has capacity to be able to track corruption from the source of the money and be able to then deal with the people who are in possession of corrupt money. If they take it to the churches or to the mosques or to the schools, they should be followed and action be taken up against them for stealing public money. But that should not be used as an excuse to kill a spirit that has developed this country, that has enabled very many children who would have not gone to school to go to school, that has enabled many churches and many mosques and many temples to be able to take care of the needy who otherwise may have not gone to school, may have not had food to eat, which has enabled pastors and sheikhs to go out there and minister. So for me, I think it is an unfortunate move. I hope the parliamentarians will not even allow the bill to get to the floor of the House.
You know, here we have three issues that we need to take keen interest in. Number one, we have the church that needs, you know, funding in terms of people's contributions. The church sometimes may need harambe, sometimes may need contributions, the tithe, the offering, whichever form of contribution. Number two, the people who contribute, whether they are politicians or members, they belong to a specific religion, they belong to a specific church, depending on who these individuals are. But number three, there is the aspect of corruption.
You know, one of the things that I think I've not actually gone through the bill by Bandi, but I don't know what are his objects. What does he want to achieve?
But here we're talking about limiting contributions to
no, but you see,
shillings.
that is the main intention. What are the objects behind that? What does he want to achieve? Because as we discuss this broadly, what does he want to achieve? Because if you want to make a law, you must be trying to get certain solutions to a problem. What is the problem that he's solving?
You believe there is something more to it than meets the eye?
Of course, you know, this country, we have no shortage of laws, and we have politicians who are very mischievous. Whenever they want to play politics, they bring a lot of sorts of things which are not unnecessary and drama, and knowing very well that what they are doing will not achieve results. But as I said earlier, it would have been better if members of a certain church or their friends can get their ways of contributing through tithes and whatever. But because we know, even that, as he has said, there's a problem in this country on theft of public money, which is actually can be traceable. As I said last time when I was in a certain show here in KBC, the government like now is saying that those people who have money, they have introduced a new currency, they should bring the money to change it. That they think that's a way of fighting corruption. And they know the people who withdrew large sums of money from banks. They exactly know who withdrew hundreds of millions, billions. They know who are the people who have done that.
Could
so,
this be some people behind the church, trying to
course,
clean money?
No, politicizing everything, when you have even, you have ways of doing things professionally and knowing who are the people who have stolen money.
But you believe that we stick to tithes and offerings and any other contribution, but not harambe?
You know that the other problem with that is, you know, politics of money have destroyed this country. Because the reason that public money is stolen is because money is used so much in politics.
Okay.
And now, when you allow this public money to be given in harambes, or money that is of suspect sources, eventually what you'll do, you may not see the direct link with it as it is, but what will happen is you encourage people to go and steal and become, use the money to popularize themselves. If you're a good person who is a religious person and you are donating your money to the church, you don't need, in fact, I think there's a verse in the Bible which says your right hand should not know what your left hand should have done. You can contribute silently and give the money so you wait for the blessings.
The same Bible also talks about Jesus looking at the givers, and he even commends the poor widow who was given the least as the one who was given more.
Meaning that it was a public.
Meaning that he was saying
publicly given.
Yes, it was publicly given, and Christ was saying what was being given.
But do you see that there's difference with our case? But those who contribute, let's say someone comes with 1 million shillings, he's maybe a half president or a minister or someone like that. There's a person in that church who has given 1 shilling, but that is only what they had. So in the example you are giving, that doesn't apply in this country.
Because we're talking about 1 million shillings.
We are talking about the one who gives 10 million.
Yeah, but you see, the whole thing
is the whole story.
I think
that is given by media, by a case.
My case is leave the church out of the politics. The church, those who give to the church must be allowed to give. And giving to the church should be a voluntary thing that is a conviction of the heart. And I've said people have given their everything. There are people in the US who leave a will written that whatever I own should be given to the church. But in Kenya, as you're saying, it's immoral for you to give 10 million in a Harambee when you have a salary of 2 million every month. We know your salary is stipulated there. We know that you are earning 2 million, or you're supposed to earn 1.5, or you're supposed to be earning 500,000.
But can the church discriminate who do we accept money from?
It can be. No, it can, because let me explain this. We have a problem in this country, which I think we have not addressed.
Let me come over to him. I will come back to you.
Yeah,
yes.
we cannot legislate against our culture. You know, it is like a society killing itself. We cannot legislate against Harambee. We can legislate against corruption. And if corruption money is brought to church and it can be traced back to where it was stolen, then the person who has brought it, the money can be traced and taken back because it does not belong to the person who gave it. It is public. It is public money. But that should not be used. If I get 1 million shillings and I want to give it to the church, so be it. I know why I'm giving it. If I want to give it to the school, so be it.
Regardless of whether I earn less than that amount of money that I've given.
So long as I can account for that money. The issue should be, are we able to account for the money we are spending, whether we are giving it in Harambees or we are buying aeroplanes?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Or we are buying apartments all over Nairobi. The issue is, are we able to account for the money we are expending?
Accountability.
Yeah, that should be the issue.
I'll come back to you.
You know, if you look at when KRA gives awards to top taxpayers, there's none of the people who gives millions and millions of money who has ever been named as a top taxpayer. And most of the income you generate in this country is taxable. So how do you make this money, which you give, but you are not on the top of the list of top taxpayers? If you look at philanthropists and business philanthropists like Bill Gates, you can see the trend of how they have made money. So if you have made money in a certain way, you must have been, most of the corporate guys who are named, like you remember when Michael Joseph was being named as a top taxpayer by KRA, a person earning maybe around time about 3-4 million shillings. How comes that the people who are able to give even as much as 4 million shillings every month are not top taxpayers in this country? That tells you there's a lot of suspicion from the source where this money comes from, because if this money is green, you must have paid tax. Then that means you must rank somewhere. As a person who can afford to give 4 million, you must rank somewhere as a top taxpayer.
The question is, how can
the church
regulate?
You know, the church may not regulate, but what I think is, there's a question of where this money comes from. And I think that is maybe the question that people are trying maybe to solve. But it is impossible to solve it unless we are able to fight the source of where the corrupt money comes from.
So is it bad if
that is where we may stop the money?
If the church receives the money?
You see where the problem is in this society? The giving is not the problem. The problem is using even money in the giving out of money in churches and everywhere as a tool, as a political tool.
The common denominator when you talk about Harambees in this country, and we like skirting around an issue. The person accused is William Samoei Ruto, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya.
And remember that he said that he knows where God took him from.
Yes, and as you remember where God has taken you from, also remember that there is a threshold, and we know your salary. and we know what you're getting per month. And you could be having businesses, and people know it. But then it sounds immoral. It sounds immoral. It sounds immoral to give 10 million in a day, and you're running every weekend giving such monies. So people are questioning, where do you get this money from? And so the whole thing, even for ODM, they are all doing this because of what William Ruto is doing. So they need to come out and ask, or let the government come out clean and tell the deputy president, where are you getting this money from?
Some people are saying that this bill is, this motion is aimed at the deputy president.
Ram, you know what? In this country, the only money that cannot be accounted for is money that somebody prints away from the normal government system, okay? Otherwise, all the other money should be traced from a government, from a system, an official system. Yes. Okay, that's how the economy works. Now, so if the deputy president is printing money, the government should be able to tell that, because the deputy president's life is governed by the government. He has security from the state. All his workers are the state. So there is nothing the deputy president can do which the government does not know. Okay, if he's stealing this money from a government department, it should be possible to trace where this money is being taken from. Why do I think that probably all these guys are stealing, but the deputy president is making the mistake of spending the money that he is stealing, while is the rest of...
Are you saying that he is a thief?
No. What I'm saying, if he cannot account...
If all of them are stealing, he's making a mistake of spending the money that he has stolen. So
if he cannot account for the money that he's spending, then it can be interpreted that he has gotten that money through illegal ways. But I suspect that all these people know where the deputy president is making money, but no one is courageous enough to tell us where that money is from, because probably they're also getting money from the same source.
He's ready for a lifestyle audit, remember?
And remember,
but where are the lifestyle audits now?
The projection is he is the only one giving to the church. I've mentioned, and I want to say this, even as of today, you look at the papers, you'll see Mheshimiwa Mudavadi is one of the dailies. And in one of the dailies is already appearing, raising money in Kaimosi yesterday. And so, and I've told you of the church in Kwale, and I've told you of the church in Bumula that I've known has been built from the scratch.
Imagine that being regulated now.
So all this, it's done in moderation. Not one man is doing for the church. Other people are doing it, but one has blown it out of, what do you call it? One has blown it out of proportion. That when you come with money and people ask, is this real? Is this all your money?
Rahim Dahoud, a mental North Member of Parliament, said, and I would like to quote him, fundraisers have helped a lot of people in Kenya, and we cannot be done away with, cannot be done away with simply because some individuals imagine that the money being given is obtained by corrupt means. That is what he says. We cannot do it. And he said that the motion is doomed to fail. Wrapping it up, do you believe it is doomed to fail?
I don't think it will see right of day.
Yes.
The bill cannot come through.
It's not the first time that ODM has attempted to, introduce legislation against Harambee. It has happened, I think I've heard of it almost 4 different times in different political circles. And I think it is bound to fail.
It is bound to fail.
Yeah.
And I would like you to be part of this conversation. Tell us, do you believe it is doomed? Will it ever see the light of day? Tweet us. Officially, our handle is at KBC Television. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya. Tag me at Ram Aguko. Tag us also at Jane Wambui. Be part of this conversation. Tell us what your thoughts are, your opinions, any question that you may be having. Moving forward, we have the budget 2019-2020. There is, this is the 7th, actually under the Jubilee government, if I'm not wrong, it is the 7th. And now you're having the government planning to spend 3.02 trillion shillings. And here we're talking about 10 billion shillings higher than the current 2018-2019 budget. more. We have exceeded what we have. And there is an estimate deficit of 607.8 billion, an increase of 562 billion in this fiscal year. So the debate has been, what are you budgeting for? Are you budgeting for development? Are you budgeting for corruption? Still rose back. What are your thoughts concerning the 2019-2020 budget?
You know, one of the things that is not in dispute about this government is that since 2013, they have been making highly over ambitious budgets. And in fact, they even budget for corruption. Because you cannot explain how someone can steal 9 billion from an institution like NYS and it doesn't corrupt, because the budget was not scrutinized from the from scratch. They have over-budgeted for stealing, and that's why if you look at the impact on the ground on how the lives of the people have been improved by the monies that have been contributed, that have been budgeted for and spent in the last 6 years. We have made an analysis as a party, a Third Way Alliance, and because we have responded to this budget. If you look at the last 6 years of Uhuru government, they have spent 13.2 trillion shillings, compared to 7.9 trillion shillings for 10 years in Kibaki's period, 10-year period. And if you actually say what we say in economics, like normalize the growth that projected during Uhuru's period and Kibaki's period, and base it on what Kibaki spent, maybe their growth rate comes to about 3.3%, and Kibaki is 5%, meaning that they have been using so much money to gain very little. And
this government?
Yes, this government. And that explains this government is actually a leaking bucket, because they've been using so much money on dead projects, which will not help us. We have given proposals to help them, even if they listen to them, and we ask them to listen to these proposals so that they stop investing in projects that are not going to bring in any return on investment anytime soon. For example, we've told this government, and in our proposal last week, that, that they should abandon the phase 2 of the 2A of the SGR, the Nairobi-Naivasha section. It should be abandoned irrespective of how much money has been spent so far.
But money has been spent.
How
then do
you know, it has abandonment of projects have always been there, even in commercial sector, even on us at individual level. Because now sinking a further 55 billion shillings, then going to Naivasha to try and reconnect back to the old railway is a waste of public money. Let's connect the railway to and rehabilitate the old railway from Nairobi now, because they have already abandoned now the SGR, because they refused to listen to people who say that this project was too expensive from when they started in Mombasa. It doesn't now mean improve the Jubilee's performance by doing this. They should abandon it. Number 2, this country should withdraw from Somalia. We have a huge military budget of about 140 billion shillings now, and this country is a country with a small economy. We don't need to spend much more on war. Last week, you know, there are some, our policemen were killed in Wajir. We are not being able even to police ourselves from inside. The same thing this government did, the Uhuru administration did in the handshake. Let them ask the Somalis to solve their problems from their end. We should not interfere with actually a neighboring country's operations. And if you go by history, even America, one of the largest economies in the world, they have always lost in wars. They went to Iraq, they left wounded, Afghanistan, Vietnam, and Kenya, there's no wisdom in staying in Somalia to date.
All right.
Number 3.
And you know that is debatable.
Yeah,
okay.
No, it's not debatable. America has made losses. In fact, one of the wisest decisions that we should follow and examples is Japan. Japan does not go to war. And the economy is stable, the economy is very developed, and they said, we are not interested with war. Kenya should not be interested in war.
Right.
Number 3,
yes.
We have advised in our proposal as Third Way Alliance that the government stops funding projects that are done by listed companies like KPLC, Drew Lair, and Kengen. Because when you do project, you give out public money to support infrastructure for Kenya Power and Lighting, which is a company owned by shareholders. Your financing is like you go to finance Barclays, you go to finance KCB. Let us either liberalize the power market, but let us stop supporting private companies. In quotes, they are public listed companies, but private investments in disguise as using public money.
All right.
Number four.
I will come back to you
Yes.
because seemingly you have a lot of proposals here, and I'm aware these proposals are going to save in your own calculations around
918 billion
billion.
shillings.
We'll come back to you. Yes.
Yeah, I think what I will say is this is overly ambitious budget.
The 3.02 trillion.
Yes, and let's assume we had the 3 trillion that you're talking about. Can we really absorb in our market? Can we spend it if we had it? Let's say we have not borrowed, but we have 3 trillion. Can we spend it?
Do you believe we are budgeting for development?
No, because as I said, it's overly ambitious. And when you look at this budget, you see an avenue of corruption where people are creating money for themselves. And also, I'll go back to what I said last time. When you have a deficit as what we have today, then you are really telling Kenyans that you are going to end up borrowing. And when you borrow, that burden is transferred to the citizens. And so that's why you see high tax on the Kenyans, and that is what ANC is fighting, or what Mheshimiwa Mudavadi is fighting, that we should not continue ballooning the public debt. We need to reduce it as much as we can for this country to be stable. And also for the taxes to go down, for an NG to feel that they have a government that cares.
All right.
Yeah, you know what I sympathize with the Kenyans that they have to sit, behind their televisions every year to listen to budgets that are not making sense. You see, as a basis of this budget, we were told that we had a growth of 6.3 million. The president said on Madaraka Day that they had created 800,000 jobs in the last 1 year. And the president then told, instructed that all the pending bills be paid before the end of the financial year. All those are empty rhetoric. We know that... Empty rhetoric. Because we know that, talk to any Kenyan in any sector, whether in the formal sector or informal sector, no one has felt growth. Growth is not, some conjecture that is, manufactured within the planning department. Growth is felt in our streets, in our markets, in our villages, in our farms. You can see people smiling and telling you that this year, I have earned more from my farming. I have earned more from my border. But when you talk to Kenyans, Kenyans are distressed from the quality of life because of the high cost of living and because they are not making any money worth writing home about from their businesses and their struggles. And because taxation is killing them. Okay. Now, one feature of this budget is that taxation has increased in certain areas, especially areas that have been cushioning the very unfortunate poor Kenyans. The other thing is that I see an economy. I see a budget that presents no credible theory for for growth and redistribution of wealth. We take 42 billion and give to how many are there? 416 members of parliament? Okay.
Coming to that.
Yes, but agriculture.
You are coming to that.
Yes,
right.
Agriculture has no money. Manufacturing. We are talking about the agenda. They call the agenda 4.
Big four agenda. Yes.
Big four.
The big 4. But then those items have no money. There is no way that manufacturing will grow if we cannot push money to our rural areas.
He's saying that we drop the big four agenda.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to drop those and go for the basic. We need to go for the basic things. Send money to the counties. Ensure that the counties are efficient. Let this money be spent in improving infrastructure and inputs into our farms to improve our agriculture, and then value addition from our farms into manufacturing, and ensure that we can eat what we produce, and then we can sell the surplus to the world. Right now, we are eating almost everything from China. Okay. We are importing everything. We are not able to feed ourselves. Okay, our human resource is not able to function optimally because of poor healthcare. Until we are able to sort out the primary healthcare, I come from Kisumu, where the president went to launch the universal health care. But when you move to our health facilities, we don't have drugs. We don't have enough medical personnel.
You've been on the ground, you've seen that it does not
I do community work, so I interact with those people quite a bit. A number of sectors, our employees are always on the road. I read the Third Way Alliance response, and I like the fact that you talked about this CBAs. Our government is very quick at signing CBAs that they cannot fulfill.
Thanks.
Okay,
you're making him smile.
Yes, the issue of the pending bill is a serious issue. We are talking about the pending bills of 300 billion. Then the minister comes and says that the government has given 10 billion and wants us to clap at it. The government owes those Kenyans money, and it has tied their business capital. It's killing businesses. Okay.
In fact, you see, this government is a joke. You know, in government operations and accounting,
that is your
you should not. No, that is not an opinion. It's a fact. The government borrows money, but does not borrow, take debts on goods and services. So when you are raising a local service order or a local purchase order, the government should have money in the account. How did we end up with the debts? Because the work of how government operates, the government goes and borrows money through bonds, or borrows overseas, through international partners, to pay for the goods and services that they rendered to the government. Now you go to now in our proposal in Third Way, in our proposal on the budget, we have proposed, we have asked the question, how did the government acquire the debts of up to 300 billion? Because once you are raising an order for any service or good, you ought to have money in the account. Yeah. So that means a lot of money has been stolen over the years, so that and even fictitious bills. In fact, the Auditor General has found out that there are about 35 billion shillings of fake bills. I think in the counties only. If you go to the national government, it will be worse. So if they are going to settle off the bills, we need a credible, the Auditor General, to go through every bill that is outstanding. Then those bills should be paid before this government goes on with the over-ambitious budgets that they are telling us about. In fact, that is why, as Third Way, we have proposed, first of all, this government should shelve the Big Four agenda, which they are allocating about 450 billion shillings. It is useless. They will not achieve it, because some of the things that we need to look at, and some of the dangers, like what he has talked about, healthcare. Another day I was watching TV, and I actually, if you look at our Punguza Mizigo bill, we have proposed to increase more money to the county so that we can give the citizens the basic needs like clean water. For example, how many people die of curable diseases, which they could, preventable diseases because of water in this, lack of clean water in this country. I saw there's a problem of water in Kisumu, next to one of the largest freshwater lakes in the world. But this country, after 56 years, cannot provide people with clean water because our priorities are upside down. You want to provide health cover universally, but you don't want to deal with preventive health care, just providing clean water. That's why our Punguza Mizigo bill and proposal is about, let's take more money to where the people are, provide people with basic needs like water, healthcare, a dispensary per ward, and you can be able, healthcare is not about curing people, it's about even prevention. So if they abandon this Big Four agenda, we can use that money to provide basic services to the people. The other thing that we have actually proposed in our response to the budget is this. The national government is allocating itself over 80 billion shillings on healthcare. If you look at healthcare, healthcare is a devolved function except for referral services and administration. So it is only referral and administration that is taking up 80 billion, about even a third, almost a third of what is devolved to the counties in total. But counties are supposed to take care of healthcare of every citizen in this country. So if you look at, there are a lot of problems in this country because when you look at the current parliament in itself, they are fighting with the Senate to deny counties money.
And here we talk about the Senate.
Yes.
They're fighting. The Senate is for 326 billion, the National Assembly 316
and
billion.
I'll tell you they are still long because even last year we went and took a memorandum to the Senate because they have been basing division of revenue on the wrong years. Last year they based on 2013, 2014. This year they are basing on 2014, 2015, and they should be basing on the most recent audits. That means the county revenue should have been far much higher. In fact, they are denying every year counties.
Should be recent.
They are denying counties about 150 billion every year. That is, every county is missing out like 3 billion shillings every year. And you see counties have been blamed by some Jubilee apologists to maybe make the operations of government difficult, which is not true.
Jubilee apologists.
We have done an analysis that in the last 6 years, Jubilee has spent 13.2 billion shillings in the total budgets in the last 6 years, but only 1.7 billion shillings had been devolved. That leaves them with a balance of 11.9 billion shillings. So, and
trillion.
Yeah, trillion shillings. So even when trillion shillings, even when they are saying that their operations, even the wage bill issues, those do not, the wage bill in the national government has nothing to do with the counties, because they already given the counties to deal with their wage bill.
So they're separate.
Yes, their wage bill. It is only that this government has been hanging on things like provincial administration. It is the same president who is appointing cabinet CASs, unnecessary positions, and still complaining of wage bill.
The CASs is
it's a necessary position. They have no role. In fact, you could see that the other day, a member of what they are calling the Embrace team, one of them, I saw some CSs there. So you can see these people are idle because they are out there campaigning for other agenda. They are not in the office working for the Kenyan citizen.
I would like
to come in with. I was talking about the 10 billion shillings being given to to pay pending bills.
Yes.
The media alone is owed 3 billion shillings in terms of pending bills on advertisements. This government has not been paying advertisements for more than 1 year. The money that was released last year to pay for advertisement to the media was actually stolen. And you know that there are people in court over theft of that money. The media, media is very critical that we are able to come here and speak about what is happening in government. You know that our media is almost going down on its knees because all of them are owed money by the government. But this, if media that can be able to speak for itself is owed 3 billion, what do you think about the rest of the sectors that are owed money? Yeah. So we cannot have a government that continuously budgets, then commits money, gets services and goods, and does not pay. We should get to the point where we are honest with ourselves and accept the fact that we have not been doing well. We need to, one, sort out the mess before we start thinking about the ambitious growth in infrastructure and other things which we are not able to finance. My view is Parliament should actually sit and outlaw this issue of continuous borrowing from outside to finance infrastructure that is not productive.
And that's where we have the question, because do we have a likelihood of the government borrowing in the next fiscal year to bridge the deficit? Because
they
have
607.8. They have actually said
the Kenya Revenue Authority
will actually be 1 billion.
1 billion. But the KRA is expected to miss this year's revenue collection target by 118 billion.
Yeah, and they have actually said that they are going to borrow, according to the government is meeting it to 600 and something billion, isn't it?
Yes.
But I agree with him that it could go to 1 billion or 1 trillion or even more. You have seen KRA squeeze money out of Kenyans, okay? Kenyans, I was looking at, I paid electricity bill worth 500 shillings. And then they told me that, when I looked at the message that came back, the tokens that I was given was only worth 300 because 200 was going to taxation and other deductions by government. Okay?
I want to take it a bit different now. Rotich, as a Minister for Finance, I think is the worst Kenya has had since independence.
That is bold and strong.
Yes.
Worst.
The worst.
Since Kenya's independence.
Yes. And he's a minister who does not even understand what he's doing. He's only throwing figures as a way of confusing Kenyans.
Look at his job description.
And
Look at his CV.
Yes.
Look at what he's done. You say
yes.
he doesn't understand what he's doing.
He doesn't. And with all these complaints, with what they're saying, and with what you have read, what are the targets? And even, let's say, they are talking about abandoning the Big Four. I would not vouch for the abandoning of the Big Four.
Kenya needs to develop.
Kenya needs infrastructure, Kenya needs manufacturing, and in fact, a budget that doesn't address manufacturing, then it's not addressing the plight of Kenyans, especially when you have over 8 million Kenyans unemployed. And my friend, you're talking about healthcare. When you talk about preventive healthcare and all that, it's still healthcare. So we need to plan from your plan of Third Way Alliance and all these groupings that come together. We need to have this country develop, but it is misplaced priorities of the Jubilee government that is causing us all this confusion.
But
we need
part of that is Big Four.
You see, we need
that
a
is
proper...
Big
Part
Four.
of that is Big Four.
Yeah, Big Four.
And our point...
And Big Four...
Our point is that if we are in a ditch...
The Big Four...
If you're in a ditch...
I would like him to finish.
I give you time to talk.
Yes.
When you plan for these public finances, you need to put people first. We cannot operate in a vacuum. There must be something being done by the monies that have been planned. As we've talked about borrowing, this is going to still be extended. They will still borrow more money. Kenyan will still be taxed and will get more suffering. And so we continue saying the same thing. I think we need to be bold enough and tell Rotich, with the accusation of corruption and lack of good planning in his ministry, to simply step aside. And, and the president needs to come out boldly and name a new cabinet minister. We need to see somebody that can bring some sense in the economy of the country.
But in our thinking, as a party, I think replacing even the cabinet secretary will not solve the problem. It is a whole system of the Jubilee system that is bad. And that is why, as Third Way, we are offering an alternative leadership come 2022, so that we can solve these problems, which they can't see. One of the biggest tragedies of this country is Jubilee has been borrowing year in year to unsustainable, now put us into unsustainable debt. Let's go back to 2013 on March. On March 2013, our national debt was standing at 1.7 trillion since independence. In the last 6 years, our debt now is over 5.6 trillion. That is, we have increased about 4 trillion in our national debt book with nothing to show. So what we are saying is, to remedy this, the government must stop borrowing immediately. And that is why the proposal of the Third Way proposed to cut that budget estimates to 900 billion shillings, doing away with any deficit in that budget, operate within our means, so that we can only repay debts and do development.
All right.
You know, even 2 trillion shillings, 2 trillion shillings is not real to money. If that money is not stolen, it would transform this country. If the government, as you, let me respond actually to what he was saying here. If the government stops borrowing from local financial institutions, we will not plan for industrialization. People will get money from the banks. It is the government that is taking all the money from the private sector, financial institutions, that should be financing business in this country. Because financial institutions have been preferring to lend money to this government.
They're depleted.
And to this government.
They are depleted.
They have depleted. But now, that kills business. If you remember in around 2005, banks were hawking loans in this town, even unsecured loans to small businesses. But you see now Jubilee even toying with the idea of bringing in policies to help at unsecured loans. But banks, when they are made, when the government is not borrowing from the banks definitely do the business of lending money. They have to look for the
and remember, CBK governor said 2 weeks ago, we have reached the ceiling. We cannot borrow anymore. So when they go
I
beyond,
think the ceiling was reached a long time ago.
We are beyond the ceiling.
There is something that is going to happen today, and I would like us to wrap it up as we watch a certain clip here that was that is there concerning what some leaders say. And my director, you can put it up in a bit. There is a proposal by the CS concerning border operators. And here we talk about insurance for pedestrians and passengers. Today, the governor, Mike Sonko, will be going to court together with Gatundu South Member of Parliament, Moses Kuria, to oppose this. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, my first quick thinking on this, Mike Sonko and Moses Kuria going to court now is even premature, and they will lose that case. Because for one, you don't go to sue for a proposal. That is already a proposal. Moses Kuria sits in national parliament, where they pass everything blindly that is brought by the Jubilee government.
Okay.
So one of the things that they should, first of all, the finance bill is not yet approved by parliament. How do you go to sue something that is a thought? Do you go to sue a thought? That's a joke. They are just playing politics. But let's come to the reality. When you look at border operators, if you've gone to the ground and mingled with those people and talked to them, these are Kenyans who are in a lot of problems, financial problems, and adding any other cost to them after even the increase of adding VAT on petroleum last year. Now fuel is about 107 shillings or 106 shillings per litre. These people, and the fares have not increased at the same rate for the border. So these people are really suffering. And one of the things that this country has also created, when we are building real roads, we also don't create specific pathways, special pathways for motorcycles. That would reduce even accidents. Because you want riders to go to drive on a highway like Thika Road, exposing them to dangers and their passengers.
Yes.
So now, the issue of insurance.
Yes.
On the issue of insurance to the border, this government is talking about universal health care. Let them give a little chunk of that money and maybe create a fund for these border guys to be able to finance their insurance.
Hold on, you're saying we remove money from one of the big agenda, the universal health care.
Accidents.
We bring it to...
When you get an accident, you need health care, isn't it?
Yes.
That is actually the basis on what they want to raise the insurance. Actually, they can even also do away with the insurance for borders, but ensure that they are pathways. But this is something that needs a lot of planning and costs, even now.
All right.
Especially like in urban areas.
They will not succeed in collecting the monies they want from borders.
Insurance.
It's not applicable. They will try to squeeze it and maybe kill that industry. But I'm thinking about the rural areas. How do we apply it? If you move away from the cities, the borders in the rural areas, how do you collect these monies for insurance? Because the operation of borders is as queer as you see it. It's a menace across the country. First of all, we need to reorganize that sector. It needs reorganization. It needs somebody to go and sit down with those young people and talk to them on how to do their business. But even just getting the money for that license, where do they get it from? So government is going to face what I'll call a Herculean task to collect the monies they are looking for in this sector.
Well, I agree with him on a number of things. I disagree with him vehemently in the use of the word menace when referring to border. You know that border sector has arisen because of the failure in our formal economy, and that the young people who are there are not there because they chose to be there. It's just a coping mechanism. They are in the fringes. They are in the fringes of our economy. They are hardly making a living. I've had an opportunity to do a research on border sector, and you realize that they hardly make $3 a day. And that $3 is not enough for them to pay for the motorbike, which they pay on daily basis to the owners of the motorbike, to be able to buy food, to be able to pay rent, and to be able to provide for the rest of their family members. They are not planned for. The government is providing them with nothing, as he said. There's no path for boda. I think it would be the biggest mistake to actually tax that sector. I would have actually been happy to hear them talk about subsidy to the services being offered to them in various government facilities.
All right.
Yeah. I think on that, Nyamori, maybe if you go to police stations, you'll agree with me that the numbers of motorbikes piling, accident-prone motorbikes is just immense. If you go to hospitals and look at the wards, the accident victims are just so many.
So the menace
what I'm talking about,
the menace is the failure.
Why can't the government now invest in training people?
For me, and that's why I said we need order. We need government to reorganize. If you heard what I said, we need reorganization of this sector and good planning for this sector. But we cannot tax them more. We need to reorganize them and help them perform even better.
This is a form of taxing in terms of insurance.
It is taxation.
No, and that's what I said. The government cannot tax money. They should not tax boda.
You know, essentially, if you look at it, they're actually using the bodas to make money for cartels in the insurance industry.
Exactly.
You know, the ordinary Mwananchi in this country, the ordinary whom we used to call Wajiko, is very oppressed by the people in power. And I think it is a high time that Wajiko really thought of who they elect to lead this country. Because most of the policies that we have seen in the last few years, they are skewed to making the ordinary person more poor. Last year we wrote a memorandum to Parliament as third way and asked them, reject this proposal to introduce VAT on petroleum. Our Parliament does not listen to the needs of the people. And another example is, we wrote to them about the division of revenue. They are still fighting with the Senate. Members of Parliament are fighting over money. They don't want their constituents in the counties to get money, because members of Parliament in this country forgot their role as oversight and oversight laws to oversight the government. They are fighting over money for development.
Yeah,
because this comment, we will get your views. I want us to watch this specific clip and move on to this issue.
The push by a section of opposition politicians to have President Uhuru Kenyatta back Raila Odinga for president continues to provide fodder for the anti-Odinga political camp. The leaders equating ODM's demand as an attempt to derail an already set out succession plan within the Jubilee Party.
Si alitembea hapa Elgeyo Marakwet na bonde la ufa akasema miaka 10 yake, akimaliza miaka 10 ya nani? Sasa unauliza Uhuru Kenyatta endorsement ya nini? I am going to say in this platform, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta endorsed William Ruto long time ago. He has not changed his mind.
Speaking in Elgeyo Marakwet, Deputy President William Ruto said he was ready to follow any political direction paved by the Jubilee Party.
Twende left, tutaenda left. Twende right, tutaenda right. Lakini amri tulipatiwa na wananchi wakati walitupigia kura 2013, 2017. Walituambia mambo mawili. Tuunganishe Wakenya wote kutoka jamii zote na dini zote na sehemu zote. Na jambo la pili, tushughulike na mambo na miradi ya maendeleo ya taifa letu la Kenya.
There has been growing concern within the DP's camp that Raila Odinga may be harboring ulterior motives, a scheme which they say is meant to elbow out Ruto from the 2022 political matrix.
Watu wote tunachaguliwa na mtu ambaye hataki kupigana na aenda atafute kura na anasema endorsement na ni wa chama mwingine, wacha kwanza niwaeleze waje Jubilee.
The sentiments coming as a research conducted by Insight Strategy Solutions revealed Ruto is the most preferred presidential candidate, followed by opposition chief Raila Odinga.
But when we go to Western, between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, they are splitting with 32% to 31.4%. So both of them, it's like that region, either of them can get.
The opinion poll conducted between 29th April and 3rd May, and which sampled 1,702 in Nairobi, Nyanza, Coast, Rift Valley, and Northeastern, among other regions, puts Ruto at 30.81%, Raila Odinga at 27.5%, followed by Mike Sonko at 12.8%, with Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi a distant fourth with 9.3%.
All right, and as you've just heard there, that is a survey by ISS Africa that shows that the DP now and ODM leader Raila Odinga, they are, it's almost getting to a tie here, and it's tight. The DP 30.81, the Raila Odinga 27.50. There is the issue to do with Mike Sonko, who is coming in third at 12.8%. Amani leader Musalia Mudavadi and coming in at 9.3%. Kalonzo Musyoka 8.5%. What are your thoughts concerning this and the clip that we've just watched?
You know, one of the things that I think, I don't think even from a position of our party, we should give any attention to any opinion poll now, because we are focusing our people on useless endeavors. Why do we do an opinion poll for who will be president 3 years to come, not even knowing whether they will be alive? You see, this country, we should focus on what ails our people now, instead of focusing on the future. Why are we projecting things? People even die naturally, not wishing anyone to die, because any human being can die. But why are we focusing on things that are not important now? That is one characteristic of people who are not readers, because readers would be focusing on what will be. So what are the problems that are facing their people now? They will not be focusing on how they will get positions.
And these are because this is what the president is saying. We focus on development.
You see, not only development, but development is very broad. But they should ensure that even that development translates to something that is meaningful to the people, because you can do development in many aspects. You see here, a few meters from here, there's a monument that was built there 20-something years ago at about a cost of 2 million shillings then. It looks like development, but it had no value to the lives of the people.
You know about the one near Uhuru Park?
Yes, a white elephant there. So what we are saying is, it's not only development. The development must translate to the lives of the people. Let us leave out these shenanigans of opinion polls now. What if these people do not live to see that day? Why is it now important? Over 3 years to the elections, we are discussing elections 3 years. We have brought the election as a country, and the position of our party is we are going to do only, for now, the agenda that is going to help Wajiko. And we have proposed, and you have seen, our signatures for Bunguza Mizigo are being verified now by IBC at the KICD. We have cogent and reasoned proposals that will help this country out of the quagmire. We want to increase inclusivity for the ordinary Wajiko. That is why we are proposing, let us get more money to the counties, let us get funds to the wards, so that every person has equitable share of the national cake. If you look at the ordinary person, is the person who suffers in this country, and that's the person who needs inclusivity in this country. We have proposed a 7-year term presidency, one-term presidency, to end the perennial violence in this country. Because if you look at the history of this country, from 1992 to date, you'll find out that every year there is an incumbent who is running for office, for re-election. There's violence in this country. That is 92, 97, and 2007. The other years when there was the incumbent was not running, there was no violence. That is 2002 and 2013. Even last year, when an incumbent, 2017, when an incumbent was running, you know, there was violence. So violence is a common denominator with the incumbency. So we are saying, let us introduce a 7-year term presidency. Who are these people who are killed during violence?
To interject on some of the issues that he's raising.
Who are these people? Who are these?
I would like him to interject on what
I would want to challenge that way alliance. The reason why we have a problem, Kenya is not lacking in ideas. The reason why we have a problem is leadership. We need to fix leadership.
We have the ideas.
Yeah, so I would expect them. I would expect them to project a leader and convince Kenyans that the leader is worth being voted for.
They have the
opinion polls. Opinion polls. I respect science, subject to the validity of that poll. Opinion polls are a reflection of the interaction of candidates with the people, and so for the last few months, it is the two candidates who have been interacting more with the people. So it is bound; they are bound to reflect more better on opinion polls than the other candidates. My suggestion is for everybody who thinks that they have an alternative thought is that they project for us leaders who are worth voting for, so that we can compare them with the people who are available and actually get what Kenya needs is a revolutionary leader.
I would like you to give your comments here.
On this opinion poll,
yes.
Number one, who has said he wants to be president? When you place Mutua, when you place Sonko to eat into other people's numbers, have they said they want to be president? First of all, why don't you judge them on the mandate they have today? Is Nairobi performing? Exactly. Is Machakos any better? So that you say they are also part of the whole thing.
The survey.
They are not in the survey. And when you look at, I had a former minister saying in Mumias, Rashid Echesa said, guys are sponsoring opinion polls to discredit others.
You believe so?
Yes, I believe so. Because today, I believe, as a member of ANC and a supporter of Mheshimiwa Mudavadi,
to get 9.3%.
Yes, I know today he's the most popular person in this country. And I know he's the most preferred. and I know that he's going to be the next kid on the block.
Before we leave, there's one issue apart from the opinion poll. There's an issue you brought about development and politics. Yeah.
The issue of opinion polls, I agree with my friend, that it should not be a subject matter today, because we have development to do, and those who are in politics have enough time to play their politics. Maybe give us opinion polls in 2021, but not now. Today, everyone should do what it's doing.
On polls, Kenyans start campaigning immediately after elections. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. There's an issue you raised about whether we should talk development or talk politics. What's development? Development, in my view, is growth and distribution of the bread. That's politics. The reason why we are struggling in this country. Just come up
again with that. What is development versus politics?
Development is economic growth plus, the issue of distribution of the national cake. The struggle that we are, the political struggle we have had in this country is the issue of equity of the national cake. So basically the political issue has been the issue of turning our growth, if at all we have it, into development by distributing it equitably so that every part of the country, every kind of group that exists in the country is able to have a bite from the national pie, okay? And therefore, we must politic 24/7, 365 days so that we can expand the pie and we can distribute it for everybody to have a piece. That's my view.
And you laughed when he gave a comment that one of his own is the most popular. We want to wrap this.
The reason I laughed is not because
he's happy about it.
No, the reason I laughed is not because he's not popular or he's popular. It's because he had also earlier said that we should not give a lot of focus on opinion polls. So I found it contradicting. But anyway, what I think is important to this country is let us focus on the current problems in this country for solutions, not actually just focusing on problems. We know the problems. Let us provide solutions. Let us be able to get a way of sharing equitably our national cake to Kenyans, to all Kenyans. And that once we make their lives better, and it is high time we also call on voters to evaluate policies that are articulated by people who aspire to run for public office. Because populism on its own is nothing. We have seen populism winning 2013, 2017, but when you go to Wananchi, they are just desperate. They are crying. They are saying that now we don't know how we came up to come up with this kind of government. But you see, that is why we are asking citizens. Focus on policies.
I want us to remember.
And this is something that needs to be hammered by leaders. Let them articulate their policies like we have done in Third Way. I've heard him, Nyamori, say that we need a revolutionary leader. What is revolution? A revolution is a paradigm shift from how things are done. We are not talking about, if you look at some revolutions which are violent revolutions in most of the countries, they end up, even the government ends up in the same hands of the same people who were in control previously. So what we are talking, and our preference as a party as Third Way, is to do a ballot revolution, a paradigm shift from how things are done. And that can only be achieved when wananchi gang up to follow policy-based politics.
You see, the challenge is that a number of places where revolutions have failed, it is because the groups that initiate revolutions rarely take time to develop leadership. And therefore, by the time they throw out the existing regime, they have nobody who can galvanize the entire country. So I would actually encourage every group that is contesting the leadership of this country to, as much as possible, present and develop credible leadership so that we could have credible leaders competing to actually lead this country.
There is something from the clip, just to wrap things up, that Senator Murkomen said from the report that we just watched. He said that Uhuru endorsed the Deputy President, William Ruto, and he has not yet changed his mind. But now the whole debate now comes, it started from there, because in my own opinion, maybe that is the route. But when he said that it is his time, and later on, the deputy will be given his own time, was this an endorsement in itself? Just to wrap things up briefly. Yes.
It could have been then, but as of yesterday, we saw the president reading a riot act to Tanga group and telling them unequivocally that I have a mandate. Some of you think you made me president. I'm actually the one who made you to be elected in your positions. In other words, he's also telling Deputy President, you could never have become a Deputy President in your life had I not supported you.
That's what
yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. And so he's saying, I'll crush you guys.
All right.
He's saying, let us commit ourselves to development first, and then later on we can come and do politics. So for me, I feel politics is about today. If I support you today and we achieve what we are getting today, that is it. Tomorrow, other people will emerge and other forces will emerge.
I sympathize with Uhuru Kenyatta because the history that we have in this country is that no president has ever managed his own succession. President Uhuru Kenyatta is now a lame duck president. There's very little he can do to manage what will happen in 2022 going forward. Right. Moi failed. Kibaki failed. I know that Kibaki was, tried to project their money, the current money presidential candidate. They failed. And I think that any person that the president tries to project would fail. Let candidates go out there and look for their own votes.
All right.
I think I've not answered the last one.
You will have your say, yeah? Let's cross over to Jane on the other side of studio for social media. Jane, what are people saying? Remember, the hashtag is Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, at KBC Television, at Jane Wambui, and at Ram Agugo. Keep the tweets coming in officially at KBC Television. Jane, what's going on there?
All right, let me just sample for you 2 tweets, just 2 for the purpose, due to the constraint of time. And there is one tweet by Kenyan Politics is asking, are women reps under danger? Nairobi, a woman rep was verbally abused recently by the governor. The physical assault on Fatuma Gedi Wajir, women rep, who sits on the budget committee by an MP from the same region, and now the booing of Muranga women rep Sabina Chege. Do you think that, women in leadership are under attack? Maybe you could address that before we get to the next tweet.
To you?
I think the alleged attack is a case now that is before a court of law. There has been violence against women across the country. You remember even the case of the girl who was killed with an axe in Eldoret. It's very unfortunate. But what I think as a country we should do, like the example of the leaders, like the MP, if he actually slapped the woman rep, he should actually resign as an MP. Right. Those are the requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya. Even before going through trial, even Theresa May never went through a court process. She just resigned for failing to deliver what the people wanted.
As I said last week,
for Sonko, still for Mr. Gedi, it's wrong.
It's wrong.
Yeah. Is it Rashid? Yeah. Rashid, what he did was wrong.
Yes.
And it needs to be told as it is. Men don't fight women. And we need to protect women of this country by actually showing example for our own young children, that mothers and sisters and our own women need to be protected.
All right, Jane.
All right, let's get one more tweet. And this one is in relation to what you were saying, you know, not vouching for the abandonment of the Big Four agenda. And there is one Bukusu Moja who says, I concur, the Big Four agenda by the president was a great idea, but the implementers, the trustees who were supposed to carry it out, including the finance, are the letdown. This rampant corruption roots from finance down to the leaves. So somebody just in agreement with the fact that, you know, the Big Four is such a fantastic idea, it's that the implementers are the problem, agreeing with what Kinoti was saying, was saying earlier on in the discussion. So that's that from my end. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much. And just to add once, someone has sent me an inbox here at on Twitter still, at Kenyan Malema. Says a great program. Ask Muiruri whatever they propose if it is sustainable. All right, and one more comment here. Now this is the one that has been sent on my inbox here. God can't be described and limited. Nobody can outgive him, and that's why he wants cheerful givers, as 2 Corinthians chapter 9 verses 7 puts it. God wants his children to give according to how they have been blessed. All right, let's wrap things up. You will respond to that tweet having your final comments, 1 minute each. Yes.
Our proposals are realistic and achievable, and I don't know what it really means, whether it is proposals on Punguza Mizigo or the proposal on the budget, but they are really well thought out, and I would urge him to go to our website, thirdwayalliance.com, at the download center. He can be able to get detailed information and the downloads for both Punguza Mizigo and the response of the budget. Okay. My last comment on this show is
1 minute.
The generation. There's a generation of change that is rooming in this country, and all these old crop of Kanu thoroughbreds will be wiped out in 2022 from politics. None of them will survive, and the new generation is out there. They are disillusioned, and they are looking for leadership. And of course, the people who put them square in this problem, because the problems you see with the Jubilee government are the same problems us guys faced when the Kanu government was in power, and we know the people who are in that government. So this, the new generation is out there looking for leadership, and there are people who have projected themselves as leaders, but it is not the people who are heading for retirement.
Okay, thank you very much. Godfrey.
3 things. One, the CS Rotich must resign. As I said, it's the worst Kenya has had. He is failing Kenyans.
There was another one in Goldenberg.
Yes, but he's the worst.
Yes,
he's the worst, and we are
back into the depression, and this country is failing.
All right.
So I urge Kenyans to look forward to an emerging giant in the name of Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, who is going to fix this country, and the economy will shine again.
My last view is that when you're in a ditch, you don't start flying. You first climb out of the ditch before then you can fly. Our economy is actually in a recession. we actually, sliding towards a total depression. It is important that we sort out that. And the way to sort out that, the Constitution provided very well a devolved system through which money would go to the villages and sort out the villages. Let us strengthen the counties, let us make them more efficient, let us make them more effective. And the 3.3 billion, if we are to spend that money, I would be happy if we spend 2.5 trillion in our villages so that we can, revive the economies of our village. We can see the economy of our village growing so as to support a national economy so as to grow. On the issue of the attacks on women, being a father, a husband, and a son of women, I get disturbed every time a woman is abused, is attacked physically. We need to all come out and call for action against all these men who are attacking women and make every space available in our country as safe as possible for our girls and our women to participate equally in the economy. In any case, they are the main contributors to the development of this country.
All right, thank you very much.
But you should have just said that you have endorsed Punguza Mizigo because don't just speak that language. Associate with it.
Let this discussion continue. Remember, keep it online. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya on Twitter at KBC Television at. They'll put a face on it. Keep it. It's at Ram Aguko, officially at KBC Television at Jane Wambui. Remember, keep the tweets coming in. But Eyes on Politics ends now. It has been a pleasure having you and being part of this conversation. We are moving forward to Jane Wambui. He is on the other side of studio with traffic updates at it's now 29 minutes to the top of the hour. So Jane, over to you. What's happening on our roads?
All right, let's check in once more before we continue with the discussions for the day. And let's quickly go back to Mombasa Road. As always, I like to start from the City Cabanas overpass. Things are looking better, not so heavy right now. As you join the highway, there's a bit of snarler, but it eases up past the areas of GM. From there, it moves on so smoothly. Again, the Southern Bypass is always an alternative. But as you approach the areas of the Bellevue Junction, that is where there is some traffic that seems to be very heavy up until the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. So Mombasa Road, it's better up until the areas of Bellevue. Quickly moving over to Langata Road from the Bomas of Kenya roundabout. Good. Remember, there was traffic from the areas of the St. Mary's police station all the way till the areas of Carnival. But as of now, it is looking good. It is clear all the way past the Southern Bypass as you approach past Carnival, also looking good. As you approach the T-Mall roundabout, there's a bit of slowdown, but that's because of the roundabout itself. But from there, the stretch between T-Mall roundabout and the Madaraka roundabout is heavy. I don't know what is happening right there. Maybe if you are there, you could let us know what is happening. And of course, also the stretch between the Aerodrome Road to the Bunyala Junction roundabout rather is not looking so good. But the stretch between the Madaraka roundabout and the Nyayo Stadium is better for that matter. Mbagathi Way is now looking not so good. It is jam-packed. I'm guessing most of you chose to go with that route to time, but as of now, it is not a good alternative, so avoid it at all costs. All right, let's go to the other side of town. Have a look at Thika Road. In at around 7 a.m. there was traffic around the areas of Garden City, but as of now, things are not looking so bad. Let us start from the T-Mall roundabout, the areas of around the TRM roundabout, not T-Mall, TRM, the TRM roundabout. Things are looking better. All clear past Safari Park approaching Garden City. Now from Garden City, things are looking good as opposed to how it was an hour ago. Things are looking good. Very beautiful. Past the Allsops overpass as well. Looking good. But as you approach the areas of Survey, that is now where traffic begins to build up. So as of now, anywhere past the Survey, things are looking good. But from Survey coming into the city, into the CBD, is now traffic, and it is heavy, like solid, like parking lot, like not moving at all. So you'll be there for a minute, but it's just only that stretch up until the Pangani flyover. Then from there, it eases up and just moves smoothly up until the areas of Ngara down to the Globe roundabout. So that is how things are looking on the Langata Road, Mombasa Road, and Thika Road as of now. We want to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back. Remember, today being Monday, we'll be putting a focus on a family, and today on Family Check, we'll be talking about a rather very sensitive issue and, emotional for that matter. And this is about children who have gotten separated from their parents and are still missing. We have a couple with us in studio. They lost their child about a week ago. He went missing in the city. They were just going about their business in the city. They were separated and they haven't been able to find their boy up until today. But we'll be talking about what went down, how it happened, and what more you as a parent need to be vigilant about. Safety tips here and there on how you can help your child even know what to do in the event that they are separated from you in an environment that is not familiar to them. So that discussion is coming up in not too long. A quick break and we'll be right back. So keep it here. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya.